One of the goals for the inclusion video was to provide the opportunity for Marylhurst instructors to hear students express how inclusion impacted their learning in the Marylhurst classroom, how a culture of inclusion deepened and enriched the learning that they got from the classroom.
We immediately did an outreach effort to the gay and lesbian community, to the gerontology community, to ethnic minority communities, and we just said, please come and be a part of this effort. And I think that it was because of that inclusive approach that we are able to start doing some of the things that we've been doing.
So we began to invite students. We generated this list of students that we knew to have been articulate about expressing the impact of inclusion on their learning. Almost everyone that we invited said yes.
I think the first thing that struck me was how many people there were that were from so many different walks of life, and that they were all somehow connected to Marylhurst.
I think the reason so many students are enthused about inclusion in Marylhurst is because we all want to be a part of something. We all want to be a part of something that's worthwhile and interesting, something that gives something to us and something that we can give from ourselves to others.
This wonderful video that is really going to give our community an opportunity to learn about diversity and inclusion from the perspective of students as well as faculty.
The heart of this is to bring home to faculty, instructors, and the community at Marylhurst what the effects of exclusion are on a learning environment.
Well, I was in the class here, and I won't point out who the instructor was, but I was in the class, and I was really participating in that class that day, and I felt very engaged. Mm-hmm. And the instructor, when I raised my hand on another subject, and I wanted to continue on when I was talking, the instructor scolded me. Told me it's my turn to talk. Well, I paid for that class, and I felt like, this is my opportunity to be able to express myself, mm-hmm. to be able to, get out in the open some of the ideas that I was trying to share with the class.
Yeah.
And I felt very, very, at that point, I really disengaged. Mm-hmm. I felt that I wasn't included,
right.
To the exclusion of this person who was teaching that class.
Right. And
I just felt that that was unfair.
Yeah.
I felt that, my inclusion was just as much as important as her ability to give a class. I just gave myself up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, that really did happen.
As an observer, I noticed something about the fact that diversity and inclusion are intentional behaviors. And I saw that intentional focus for everybody who was connected within that game exercise. It was something that was that takes us outside of the norm. The norm is to just think about yourself, care about yourself, and you only. I saw everyone who participated in the game connecting with each other intentionally. Yeah. And whether it was through the way that Mary intentionally wanted to show respectful behavior to Jera. He took the time to just, it took a few minutes, but he took the time to learn her name correctly, and then to respectfully call her name as he threw the ball to her, and vice versa. So I think inclusivity is intentional.
A sense of community is definitely important to learning for me, because you don't feel alone in your learning, that everyone's there with you and supporting you.
I'm relating to this person. I'm not relating to this person's label, class, ethnicity, or race, but I'm relating to this person and that person's interests, where the differences do not matter as much as what we have in common.
There is no ridicule or criticism of others or laughter of others when they make a mistake or they say something that maybe didn't come out the right way. That everything that is expressed, either through body language or through a verbal communication, is respected. That builds trust, which builds inclusiveness.
The practices that are the most welcoming are ones that help everyone feel valued. They're ones that help people feel like they belong, that there's safety in expression.
For me, inclusion is the sense of someone feeling like they belong.
I believe inclusion is a process of accepting people of all backgrounds and nationalities and interests, and no matter who they are, accepting them in a way that makes them feel welcome with a sense of belonging.
Do I fit in here? Can I learn from this environment?
Do I feel safe to be me in this setting?
It takes an environment that supports and encourages you and includes you.
What we know from the research on classroom education, the more the small group discussions happen within the classroom, the higher the self-esteem level of the student is.
The safer people feel, the more risks they can take, so that the learning is equally accessible to everyone, and so that everybody equally contributes to the learning environment.
You know, to focus on trust instead of fear.
It leads to a feeling of significance. You feel relevant. You just feel like you're a part of the whole.
An inclusive environment feels very warm and welcoming.
One of the reasons it's so important to create community, to create those relationships in a Marylhurst classroom, is to normalize inclusion so much so that a person's belongingness, their sense of belongingness, is never at risk.
Instructors in classrooms need first to build community before work. Without a successful learning community, really important learning will not occur.
Invite students to be participants in their learning experience by being open and welcoming to them from the very first day. Actually, before they even come into the classroom, there's environment that a professor can set by learning each of the students' names.
When I have experienced inclusion, it is the best feeling in the world.
The instructors remember my name.
I believe at Marylhurst, all the instructors that I've had the privilege of learning from, in one way or another, attempt to build inclusiveness. I think that's part of the culture of Marylhurst, and that's at least what's drawn me to finish my undergrad work here versus at another university.
A culture has to be established within that classroom to understand and value what each person is coming into that classroom with, the leveraging of diversity to make relevant their experience, to build on that.
Once you have that foundation of knowledge and background, then the instructor can bring forth and encourage individuals to contribute from their experience base activities and knowledge and background that will engage with the content of the course.
Or the nature, or the inclusive nature of the culture in the classroom freed people to share more fully.
Various different voices in the course, in the class, to be able to express themselves freely rather than letting the flow of the conversation get stagnant in one clique of students, per se. Tap into the wisdom and the treasures that each different person can bring.
What can each individual bring to a particular class, and what kind of experience can I bring?
Take somebody and help them see, given their gifts, how they might creatively produce.
Just allowing people to be who they are and recognizing the strengths that we all have inherent inside of us.
Students have something to bring to the classroom.
When that is going both ways, and the students feel that the teacher is as involved in the learning as they are, is when it's really a rich learning environment.
It's not just what the professor knows, because the professor should be modeling lifetime learning.
18 to 22-year-olds, and half people over 50, and they would all land in the same classroom. And so at first I was really struggling with how to work in this intergenerational mode effectively as a teacher. And then suddenly I looked and noticed that there was bonding going on between the younger students and the older students, and they both had some to offer.
You have classroom situations where you have 20-something individuals trying to relate to 50-something boomers. And you see this blending of generations that is really beautiful. Different generations can learn so much from each other.
I really enjoy the intergenerational relationship here at Marylhurst. I get to hear a lot of other people's experience. There's a lot of wisdom in a lot of the people who are there. And when they get a chance to express themselves and to really share it, I feel like it really enriches what I'm learning.
I look at the multi-generational classroom as a blessing here. It's how the real world is when we step outside of the university.
Getting along in the classroom is first order to getting along in the world in which we live.
I think inclusion means to me having an appreciation for the uniqueness of everyone at the table.
It's a very exciting mix of people, and that range of experiences is what makes the Marylhurst classroom fun.
So when a classroom setting is inclusive, everyone has a place at the circle. Everyone is valued equally.
If an answer was not in line with what the teacher thought, it was dismissed. And the kind of tone that was used, the body language would change, the eye contact would change. There would be like the little roll of the eyes, the immediate shutting down of an answer.
I think we need to change the conversation from shaming and blaming and become more authentic with each other.
When you feel safe, when you are not guarding yourself, then you are free to learn. It's disruptive with the whole class. Shame and blame doesn't do anything other than create a very negative, detrimental situation for all of us.
People don't like to feel stupid. They don't like to be made to feel stupid. I work really hard not to give judgmental language. You know, that shuts people down right off. Whatever they're asking has value.
Well, for me, a welcoming environment allows me to readily engage the learning process with enthusiasm and eagerness.
If it feels as though it's a one-way street, and I have been in classrooms where it did feel that way, the energy shuts down in the classroom. Everyone is robbed of the experience that way, including the teacher, I think.
It's a two-way exchange. It cannot be a one-way exchange. I can't just sit there and be a receptacle of the information that's coming to me. Everybody has a value.
My definition of inclusion is never, ever letting somebody feel that they're not valued. Never saying that your voice doesn't count. Never saying that your presence isn't welcomed.
It's really important for the instructor to model the behaviors that they want to see in the classroom.
It's important for me to model what I'm advocating.
I talk about my own growing edges. So where have I overcome a prejudice in my life? Releases other people then to begin to have that conversation with one another and with each other without attacking, without blaming, without shaming.
And any instructor should just practice automatically that leadership role up front to say, I'd like to build an inclusive environment here that will allow us to learn from each other. You can learn from me, and we can learn more dynamically about the topic that we're going to embark on for the next 9 or 10 weeks.
You stereotype a person, that student can feel it, they can sense it. They know most of the time that something is not right.
Try to put yourself in a place that you remember not being included in something, or someone ignoring you for whatever reason, and just recognizing that feeling and holding on to it. And that's the way, some students in your class, they have that feeling every single day.
And if we're not searching out diverse voices and not allowing those voices to be heard, or not understanding how unconsciously those voices can get stifled in the classroom, I don't think we're doing our job well.
We have to observe and break down our assumptions, our attitudes of superiority, so that we can include.
No matter how much you disagree with an individual, there will be all kinds of things that you can work on with that person. But I've always found that if you approach people with respect and caring and with a true interest to learn from them, that ultimately it works out just fine.
I don't care what political perspective a student has, so long as they are open and engaged to interacting with each other in a respectful way.
To be able to listen to someone else's opinion and to be open to that is something that I really strive for in our classroom situations.
Inclusion is contagious. If the instructor comes in with the idea of inclusion, the students come in with some idea of inclusion, it spreads like wildfire throughout the class.
And I want to also share my thoughts and my opinions with my rest of the classmates and the instructors. The inclusive environment or atmosphere of the class that makes me engage.
Without that trust culture atmosphere, you can't grow and you can't collaborate together and express your creativity.
I really enjoyed people talking to me and people value me as a really precious culture. So I really wanted to share my cultures.
I think inclusion is a really critical piece to learning. If you feel included, you're going to sit forward and pay attention and be a part of it and be expressive, not be afraid to talk, participate in the classes. And if everyone around you is doing the same thing, you're going to have a dynamic energy going on and you're going to have great learning. If you don't feel that inclusion, you're going to start to not care, you're going to say, why should I bother? Or everyone disagrees with me, or I'm afraid to speak out. And so it's going to affect your learning. So to me, inclusion is the critical piece of learning. It's one of the critical edges. You can't learn if you can't talk and share and communicate.
I would say the teacher wasn't being as inclusive. It was harder to go. You know, it was harder to get into the topic because you didn't feel safe enough to really explore it.
It's important that faculty understand that we're all different. I am different, but it is my difference and my background that makes our team stronger.
I would say that it's important for faculty to know how much we all gain from inclusion. I think we'd all rather know more about each other than less. And as a result, I think we can all gain from that.
I've learned a lot about different cultures here, more so I think than any other environment in which I've been.
All diversity means is variety. So our institutions that are the most diverse, that have the most variety, are the hardiest.
Marylhurst has set itself apart by having a committee that's active and involved and interested and isn't just giving lip service to the idea of diversity and inclusion. They're actually trying to do something about it.
We're really trying to accommodate all the varieties of students we get in this very rich, diverse atmosphere here at Marylhurst.
So my hope for this video is that that message will come across, that the only reason we're walking around protected is because we're not safe. But when we are, within this vessel, this boundary that is supportive and encouraging, we can be radically free to engage conflict productively, to take intellectual and academic and social risks together in community to reach that stunning potential that we all have.